Welcome to this meeting of the Merrimack School Board this Monday evening, April 20th, 2015. Would you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You all did great. Second item on tonight's agenda is school board reorganization. Every year after an election, when the school board reconstitutes, reconstitutes. That's the word. The board elects a vice chair and a chairman to run the board. And so at this point, I will entertain nominations for chair. Mr. Schneider.
I'd like to nominate Chris Ortega to remain as chair of the school board.
And seconded by Vice Chair Barnes. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I'll keep it brief. I think that you've done an excellent job over the last few years as chairman of the board, and I'd like to see it continue.
Thank you. I appreciate your support. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries 5-0-0. I appreciate the board's support, and I hope I continue to earn your trust. Is there a nomination for vice chair? Mr. Powell.
I nominate Shannon Barnes for vice chair.
And is there a second? Made by Ms. Guagliumi. Would you like to speak to it?
I would. As Andy said, in nominating the chair, there's always a need for continuity, and I think the board has functioned very well this past year, and I don't see any reason to change things up at this point.
Thank you. Further discussion. Ms. Guagliumi.
I'm supporting Shannon. I think she's been a strong advocate. She represents this board in leadership positions. I think she's a strong advocate for the board as well as the community, parents, and taxpayers. So I would also like her to remain as vice chair.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any further discussion? I too support this. So seeing no further discussion, we'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favor of Shannon Barnes as vice chair signify by saying aye. That motion too carries 5-0-0. Thank you, everyone. That takes us to item number 3, approval of the March 16th, 2015 minutes. Is there a motion? Made by Mr. Powell. Is there a second? Made by Ms. Guagliumi. And are there any amendments to the minutes? Mr. Schneider.
Yes, I have one. On page 4, on line number 163, it reads, Board Member Schneider suggested the negotiation process start at the end of the summer. I believe what I said is I suggested that the topic of changes to the calendar process start during the summer. We obviously can't start the negotiations early, but the calendar discussion we can start sooner. So,
okay,
and that's it.
Any other amendments? I had a few. On page 1, line 39, Business Administrator Chevenel presented a gift from Target. He didn't accept it. We did. So if we can just change that word to presented. Page 2, line 75, the portion that's in parentheses, I believe should read, Chairman Ortega stated that would be the case without a change in contracts. On page 3, and I'll ask for the superintendent to confirm this, on line 104, The use of blizzard bags and what you checked with the Department of Education, I believe there was only one district in the state currently using blizzard bags?
There are more than one. I think
Oh.
there are 9, including
9.
charter schools.
9 including charter schools. So if we can just clarify that there are 9 in the state using blizzard bags, including charter schools. Further down on page 3, line 139, I think the pertinent point here is that students participate in sports tournaments which are held on Mondays, but I think to be specific, on Columbus Day. So if we can just change Mondays to Columbus Day. On line 184 on page 4, I think this statement would more reflect what I said if it read, Chairman Ortega felt blizzard bags are busy work rather than quality instruction time. Then on page 5, line 219, to further clarify the waiver day that we're looking for from Commissioner Barry, if we could add to that sentence where it says for the January 27th, 2015 snow day, which was a blizzard, if we could add and a declared state of emergency by the governor. And that's all I had. Mr. Schneider.
I had one additional one.
Yes.
They were lumped together. It's on also on page 4, line number 177. It starts, Board Member Schneider stated that when you choose to have teachable hours, what it should say is you can choose to whether or not to build in snow days. It just says you can build in days or just add hours. It's not really accurate. So choose whether or not to build in snow days.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favor of approving the March 16th, 2015 minutes as amended signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So that motion carries 4-0-1 with Board Member Powell abstaining. Thank you, everyone. And that takes us to item number 4 on tonight's agenda, public participation. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board. All we ask is that you come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone looking to address the board under public participation? Everyone's a parent or a teacher. Okay. Seeing none, we will close public participation and move to item number 5. Commitment to the board's Code of Ethics. In your packet, you will see the Merrimack School Board Code of Ethics. Every year, one of the things that we do when we reconstitute is we recommit to a set of ethics, our Code of Ethics. And so what we will do is read the Code of Ethics aloud at this point in time. Each of us will take a section in succession, and at which point we will sign that, date it, and pass them over to be put on file. So this is the Merrimack School Board Code of Ethics approved by the school board on October 7th, 2002. As a member of the Merrimack School Board, I shall promote the best interests of the district by adhering to the following ethical standards and affix my signature to the same.
Trustworthy in responsibilities. Bullet 1. I will always remember that my first and greatest concern will be the educational welfare of the students in the Merrimack School District. Bullet 2. I will be accountable to the public by accurately representing district policies, programs, priorities, and progress. Bullet 3. I will be responsive to the community by seeking its involvement in district affairs and by communicating its priorities and concerns. Bullet 4, I will work to ensure prudent and accountable use of district resources and never lose sight of the fiscal responsibility owed to the taxpayers of the district. Bullet number 5, I will make no personal promise or take private action that may compromise my performance or my responsibilities or those of my fellow board members. And bullet 6, I will avoid being placed in a position of conflict of interest and refrain from using my board position for personal or partisan gain.
Honor and conduct. I will be honest, fair, just, and impartial in all my decisions and actions. I will encourage and respect open dialogue and listen with an open mind while working for consensus. I will respect the majority decision as the decision of the board.
Integrity of character. I will consistently uphold all applicable laws, rules, policies, and district procedures. I will not disclose information that is confidential by law or that will undermine the district.
Commitment to service. I will focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibilities of goal setting, policy making, and evaluation. Bullet number 2. I will diligently prepare for and attend board meetings. Bullet number 3, I will avoid personal involvement in activities the board has delegated to the superintendent. And the fourth and final bullet is, I will inform myself about relevant educational issues.
Thank you. And as you sign and pass those over, I will give them to the superintendent to be kept on file. Thank you. And that now takes us to item number 6 on tonight's agenda, the consent agenda. Dr. Mark McLaughlin.
Thank you. Under consent tonight are the following teacher nominations. Lucas Woods, social studies teacher at Merrimack High School. In addition, the board is in receipt of the list of nominations of teachers to go on continuing contract. In addition, we have the following teacher resignations. Lisa Challoner, Science Department at Merrimack High School, and Lisa Frenette, Special Education Coordinator at Merrimack High School. And the following administrator resignation, Deborah Wolfline, Principal of Merrimack Middle School.
Okay. Is there a motion as it relates to the consent agenda? Mr. Powell.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Made by Ms. Gualyumi. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions. The chair abstains. So that motion carries 4-0-1 with the chair abstaining due to the fact that my wife is one of the teachers on the nomination list. And I'd like to just make a comment as it relates to the administrator resignation and the service that Ms. Wolfline has given to the district. Debbie Wolfline came to the Merrimack School District in 1979. For those of you sitting in the front row, that's ancient history, right? 36 years ago. She served the district as an English teacher, an English department head, an assistant principal, an instructional supervisor. She was an assistant superintendent, and ultimately the principal at Merrimack Middle School. She's been a New Hampshire Teacher of the Year. She's represented New Hampshire at International Space Camp, and she's even traveled to Russia as an ambassador for American education. We wish her the absolute best in her retirement. She absolutely deserves it and probably deserves a round of applause. And I'm also happy to let you know that the school board has named as principal-elect of Merrimack Middle School Mr. Adam Carriger, who is the current assistant principal, and that he has accepted that position with gratitude. And so we're quite encouraged. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, right? I saw a yawn in the front row. Item number 7, focus on Thorntons Ferry Elementary School. I will invite to the table Principal Bridie Bellamere and Assistant Principal Julie DeLuca to introduce their team and the various students who are here to share with us tonight. Thank you all for coming and waiting for us.
Thank you for having us here tonight. I would like to thank all the families who came out tonight in support of this presentation and their children's participation. We know the Sandman is coming soon, so we appreciate everyone's patience this evening. So this year, we are excited to feature the arts, music, and physical education. On behalf of Julie DeLuca, Assistant Principal, and myself, we have 3 Thorntons Ferry staff members here this evening, along with students, to do our presentation tonight. To my right, Jennifer Partham is our physical education teacher. Anders Benson is our music teacher, and Pamela Lewis is our art teacher. They will take over this presentation after our brief introduction. And of course, many thanks again to our students who are here this evening. So as I had shared, this evening we're here to both recognize and celebrate the power of the arts, music, and physical education through the eyes of the elementary school learner. Many of us as adults have preconceived notions about these disciplines and how we experience them in our childhood. And although many of those memories were positive and we've taken those to transfer to the appreciation of the arts, music, and lifelong wellness into adulthood, the disciplines as they're taught today has evolved tremendously. And tonight's presentation is intended to feature specifically how all of these disciplines are contributing to the overall social, emotional, and psychological development of our students through cross-curricular teaching techniques. This year in particular, we are featuring literacy through arts, music, and PE. So at this time, I would like to invite the teachers to take the stand.
My name is Jennifer Partham, and I'm the PE teacher at Thorntons Ferry. This is my 3rd year in Merrimack, but my 10th year overall teaching phys ed. I truly believe it's equally important to work out your body and your mind. My approach to physical education reflects that. I work to incorporate all the subjects into PE authentically. I have asked Lily
Excuse me, Ms. Partham. All you have to do is hit the button once to get it to turn green, and then you can take your finger off and it should stay lit.
You learn something new every day.
We're working the
All
body
right.
and the
Is that
mind
better?
here.
There we go. So I've asked Lily Farrell, Chloe Hardy, Matthew Licata, and Brandon Obrega to join me tonight to speak to you about some of the initiatives we do in physical education. So Lily and Chloe, come on up.
Ladies, do you want to step right up in front of that microphone, because we don't want to miss a word of what you're going to tell us.
When we learn in PE, we are not only learning physical skills, but we are also learning about good sportsmanship and how to work well as a team. We focus on cooperative learning. When we come into the gymnasium, we go to our team quadrants. Each of our teammates have their own role. There is a coach, recorder, task reader, equipment manager, and timer/encourager. Each of us has our own responsibilities in our group. There's a paper for each lesson that helps us lead ourselves through what we are learning. The coach is the one who meets with Mrs. Partham and then goes back to their team to teach the skills. The task reader will read the rules of the games that we play to help us develop our skills. One of our brain work activities is the KWL chart. K stands for what we already know. W stands for what we want to know. And L stands for what we learned in the unit. We write on a sticky note under the K and W at the beginning of the unit, and at the end of the unit, we fill out something that we learned during PE, and we put it under the L part of the chart. All the PE classes add their sticky notes so we can see what others have learned as well. To end each lesson, we do an exit slip that has us doing some more classroom education in PE. Sometimes we use analogies. For example, can you fill in the blank? Soccer dribbling is to foot, as basketball dribbling is to hand. If you guess hand, you're right. We also work on our sportfolio. Brandon and Matthew will talk about this in a few minutes. I've learned that when you are a good leader, you have to be fair. Being nice to everyone is important. I've learned that I can be a good leader without being bossy and controlling. I've really enjoyed learning new skills in sports while working as a team. I've learned that I'm a good leader because I make sure everyone is working together as a team and doing their roles. I've learned that being a good leader requires good listening as well. These are definitely some good skills that I can use as I get older. Now Brandon and Matthew are going to share with you some cool sportfolio learning. In physical education, we have something called the sportfolio. In the sportfolio, we make goals for ourselves and our team.
At Thornton's Ferry, PE is more than just physical education, but it's also math, social studies, science, geometry, and English language arts.
We incorporate math when we use pedometers and chart how many steps we take each class. We also compare the shape of the fields or equipment to geometry and the shapes they resemble.
Social studies is when we find out the history of the sport and where it originated. Did you know that soccer originated in China over 3,000 years ago? Did you know that basketball was invented to keep boys out of trouble during the winter months?
We learn science when we learn about the bones and muscles in our bodies. It's fun to learn about the actual scientific names for the bones and muscles. We have 20 phalanges. That's what you call our finger and toe bones.
Mrs. Partham had us read a short passage comparing men's and women's competitive ice hockey. We concluded that they are almost the same. Both are highly competitive, are played on ice, and are Olympic sports. The only difference is men are allowed to body check and women are not.
It's really cool to use the sportfolio to learn about how all of our subjects in school can be related to physical education.
PE is more than just playing sports and games. It's a whole body and mind workout.
It's now my pleasure to introduce my wonderful colleague, Pamela Lewis, the art teacher.
Hi, my name is Pamela Lewis, and I'm enjoying my 15th year teaching art at Thornton's Ferry. This year, when we had visiting author and illustrator Matt Traveris come to Thornton's Ferry, I had the opportunity to work with a small group of third graders to introduce them to his books and his style of illustrations. His very realistic style and love of baseball was a great way to combine art and literacy. Students in this group had a chance to explore some new art supplies and techniques after becoming familiar with some of his books. They learned that Matt Traveris uses careful details in his drawings and uses art as much as words to tell a story. And now some of the students are going to share some of their experiences of this project. And first we have Aiden.
Hello, my name is Aiden, and that's my baseball drawing. First, we looked at Matt Tavares' book, Zachary's Ball. We looked carefully at the details on the ball. We traced a circle and added red laces. It looked like V's. There were a lot of laces. It took some time, but not too long. The hardest part was adding the shadows. The charcoal was messy, but really made the ball look realistic. When I got the hang of it, it was easy.
For you, maybe.
next we're going to hear from Braden.
Hi, my name is Braden. I liked working on the baseball jersey and learning how to make the folds look real, like in Matt Tavares' book, Mudball. The hardest part for me was making the shirt look symmetrical. I had to draw and erase several times. I learned if you draw lightly, it's easier to erase a mistake. Alex and I are going to teach the kids in our class how to draw the baseball. I'm going to make sure to tell them to draw lightly.
All right, and next we're going to hear from Kate.
Hi, my name is Kate. The cap was easy, but you had to concentrate. We used a semicircle and an oval to draw the cap. We used curved lines for the curved lines for the stitching made it look more 3D. The stitches took time. Got to choose from our favorite team. If you did the charcoal run, it would look like a floating cap. The charcoal shadow made it look like it was on a table. I'm going to help Miss Lewis teach the kids in my class how to create shadows at our next art class.
All right, next we have Alex.
Hi, my name is Alex. When we finished our drawings, our job was to decide how the art was going to look on the bulletin board. When we wanted to show Mr. Tavares how much we learned from looking at his pictures. We hoped it would make him feel good when he came to visit our school.
I also wanted to share a literacy project that I worked with a small group of first graders. They created puppets based on the story of Leo Leone's Swimming. And we have Juliana here today to talk about how she made her bird puppet.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Juliana. I turned this ugly bag into a pretty bird puppet. The bird is one of the characters in the story Swimming. First, I painted it gray and sponge painted black spots on top. I was thinking how I was going to make the beak move. I figured out that I could use my hand to hold one of the yellow triangles and pull it up, so now the bird could talk. I added some colorful fabric and glitter to make the bird really pretty, and it no longer looked like a bag.
And finally, the students have finished their puppets and are in the process now of practicing, and they plan to present the puppet show for all the students in the first grade. And next we have Mr. Benson, who's going to talk about the music department.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anders Benson, and I'm very happy to say that this is my first year here in Merrimack, and it's been quite an exciting year so far. The fine arts as we know them are truly unique avenues of expression in human culture. Studies have shown that music in particular has the potential to exercise both the left and right sides of the brain simultaneously. In order to be a great musician, you need to have a strong right brain to drive your creativity, whether you're improvising a solo or writing a song. You also need a strong left brain to understand all the patterns that you will encounter while you're reading music, whether it be a melody or a rhythm. When we apply literacy to music, it becomes very apparent that mathematical relationships appear all across a piece of paper. In fact, the philosopher Pythagoras created many theorems that were in math, and he also created the relationships that show different pitches on stringed instruments that we still recognize to this day. Many musicians preach the idea that music needs to be approached like a conversation. And if you know how to speak its language, you can express any emotion with your instrument, whether it be voice, saxophone, drum set, or whatever tickles your fancy. I have brought 4 students along today to show you their development of musical literacy. These particular students have shown strong ability in reading music and translating it to either their voices or recorders, which directly relates to their very high achievement in math. We're going to begin with 3rd graders tonight, and they will be showing you how they can look at a piece of music, translate it, and sing it. We use this device called solfege, and many of you, if you have seen The Sound of Music, you will recognize do, a deer, a female deer. I'm going to welcome Charvy and Jennifer up to the microphone to explain this more. Go ahead and introduce yourself, girls.
Hello, my name is Jennifer. Hello, my name is Charvy. I know where the pitch do is because in the beginning it says do on the second space up. Do is your starting note, and you can find out what the other notes are by using a scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. I know what the other notes are by whether they are next to each other or skip a line or space. Just like Jennifer said, we can use the scale pattern do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do to figure out what they are, then we can sing it.
So you can now see the solfege syllables up front, and these girls, in fact, have agreed to sing this pattern for us tonight. You ready? Where is everyone?
Do, mi, sol, la.
Next, I'd like to welcome 2 4th grade students, Akira and Ben, and they will explain a program that we do at Thornton's Ferry now called Recorder Karate. There were no injuries this year. Before these boys introduce themselves, I would like to say that in Recorder Karate, each student is going to play a song, and each song that they play correctly, they earn a belt to tie on the end of their recorder. Introduce yourselves, please, gentlemen.
I'm Ben. And I'm Akira. We work in small groups when we practice Recorder Karate. Usually the groups work in 3s or 4s. Most of the time, the groups try to read the music without Mr. Benson's help, but he will come to help us when there's trouble.
In every group, we have a maestro or group leader. We rotate the maestro so everyone gets a chance to be it. The maestro keeps the beat so everyone stays together when we play. When we learn new songs, the first thing we do is look at the rhythm and say it out loud. Then we figure out all the melody notes and start playing it measure by measure.
In Recorder Karate, you have to pass 3 assessments to get the belt. Well, one of them. There are the peer assessment, the self-assessment, and the Benson assessment. There are 9 belts in the Recorder Karate program, and Ben and I have earned white, yellow, orange, and green. Today we are going to be performing the brown belt song to show your skills.
So we would like to wrap up our presentation tonight with an homage to the collaboration that the three of us have done this year. I'm very, very thankful for the people that I work with and for the opportunities I've been presented with here. Miss Lewis here, she agreed to do some collaboration for our holiday concert this year, and students created artwork to go along with one of our songs, The 12 Days of Christmas. And Miss Partham has agreed to help me out with chorus throughout the year, and she has helped out with making movements for students and even rewriting lyrics to make it better suited to what we're doing. And future plans include even doing some swing dancing with our chorus. We have a short video for you, and this is one of the tunes that the chorus performed in our past concert. The song was originally Everything is Awesome, made famous by Tegan and Sarah in the Lego Movie, and we would like to give you Thornton's Ferry's Awesome.
That concludes our presentation. We're happy to take questions from members of the board.
That was awesome. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Vice Chair Barnes.
Well, definitely I love the collaboration, and it seems as though you're doing it in all aspects of the students' day, so they are very engaged throughout. I will say welcome to the district, Mr. Benson. I did see you at the Celebration of Song, and you guys did a fantastic job at that concert as well, so kudos to you. I believe that song might have been done there as well, but it was great for me to see it live and with the whole crew, so it was a privilege. That being said, I know that there's a lot with art shows and that you guys have every year, and it's just so good that the arts are being taken so seriously from their introduction into our district throughout the district. So I really think it gives a well-balanced education. These kids are definitely proving the value that it goes throughout their cross-curriculum efforts. So kudos, it's exactly what we love to see, how it really is the bigger picture as well, and arts are such a valuable part of it. So you've really presented that perfectly. So thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
Well, again, as I always say, this is my favorite time of year when we get to have the schools come before us and highlight, show us what they've been doing, and you guys are amazing, I have to say so. I'm really impressed with the detail that you go into in the phys ed department. I've never quite experienced the way that you pull in all the disciplines and into phys ed, and to hear the students explain how it all wraps together was very encouraging, very impressive. And I want to share with the students that the KWL that you have up on the wall is something that I use in my real job outside in the work world during training classes. We always start off with the same technique, so it's kind of neat to see how it's drilled down into the elementary school and taken there. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider.
Yeah, I'll echo what's been said about the collaboration. I mean, seeing the arts work together and all the different ones it's near and dear to my heart, because in my family there's math, and both of my sons went through Merrimack and have careers in music that they've gone through. I'm just going to say one thing that Anders, you made this comment about the Pythagorean theorem and musics and all this stuff. I'm going to refer you to something you may never have seen before, and everybody else. There's this video from back in it's either 50s or 60s called Donald in Math Magic Land. Yes. If you've never seen it before, I suggest you try to find it. It's probably only on tape, VHS tape. You know, those things you put it in and they get stuck and you can't undo it, right? VHS. Because it's great because it talks about music and math, and it's got movement, and it's got writing, it's got all the different arts and disciplines in it. But it talks about the relationship of math with music, which, you know, it's real important. So if there's any way you can sort of dig that out, make sure it doesn't fall apart in the VCR, things like that.
Shovel.
But yeah, shovel, right, there you go, sure. Anyway, it was really great, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
Ms. Guagliumi.
Great job to all of you. You can check out Merrimack TV online and see yourself on TV. The videos will be posted starting tomorrow. So, so that's kind of a fun thing to do. But arts and music, I know, is so important in health. The focus on health and PE and the way it's integrating, like Andy said, but as well as the cross-pollinating with other subjects, where you start to really see how these content areas can build upon each other is really incredible. It's also so impressive, I think, when you start to build in even the ability to get in front of people in a way that these students have all done. You all did an extremely terrific job. And so for all that, I thank you. And you also, brought, as I was watching your presentation, I saw the word side by side, and I immediately, it was very strange, it popped in, what popped into my mind is my 4th grade chorus, and we sang Side by Side by the Muppets, and then I remember we sang like Downtown, and there was this Now a Word from our sponsor, so you immediately brought me back to when I was in elementary school, and all of these years, that I've carried some of that with me, so thank you.
I won't reiterate what my colleagues said so eloquently about the importance of the cross-discipline education and building upon each other. I want to say, though, that this was an excellent presentation in terms of getting that message across to us concisely and through the mouths of your students, which was fantastic. I enjoyed every last one of your presentations. We have a lot of people who come before us and speak, and you guys were up there among some of the best, even adults that have to come and speak. You were calm, You presented, you performed. Amazing Grace is one of my favorite songs. And now I think Thornton's Ferry's Awesome is now up there. It probably will be in my head. By a show of hands, how many of you consider yourselves lucky that you have principals and teachers who are willing to get up and dance and act silly with you? But that's important, right? It's fun for you to learn, isn't it? So I want to thank you for the presentation. I thought you made excellent points, and the presentation was thoroughly enjoyable. So thanks for staying so late. Now home to bed, right? No. Sounds like my house. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, that takes us now to item number 8 on tonight's agenda. Honors for Merrimack Education Support Staff Officers. And I will turn to the superintendent to invite our recognized officers to the table and set up some background.
Thank you. So I'm going to invite all of you to please come forward so I can give proper introduction. So, 3 honorees, 2 principals. So let me start with the honorees. First is Carol Scopa, who is the president of the Merrimack Educational Support Staff Association and also a paraeducator at Thornton's Ferry Elementary School. Kathy Martin, in the middle, is a paraeducator at James Mastercola Upper Elementary School and the vice president of the association. Carolyn Belfiore is also a paraeducator at the Upper Elementary School, and she is the grievance chairman of the association. Brady Bellamere, principal of Thornton's Ferry. Marcia McGill, principal of the Upper Elementary School. And not to be forgotten, Lori Hayes, our UNISERV director from NEA New Hampshire, who is here in support. I want to start off by telling you that it is an exceptional thing to have 3 paraeducators recognized at the same time. So I feel our district is blessed to have 3 superb paraeducators and have them recognized for what they have done for their association. They are being recognized, that is Carol and Kathy, for what they have done to increase the membership of the association and the respect that they have brought to the membership. They have had untold growth with some very interesting strategies. And Carolyn is being named for not only being very affiliated with the association, but also for her volunteer work within the community of Merrimack. So what they're going to do tonight, the principals I'm sure will highlight them, but I have asked each to tell you about the honor that was given to them, what that experience was like, and for one, it is yet to come, so that you hear about what an exceptional honor this was from the National Association of the National Education Association, and then specifically NEA New Hampshire too, the affiliation together. So who is going to go first? Bridie, are you? Thank you.
Hello again. Well, this is quite a privilege for us to be able to introduce these staff members. They've made so many contributions to our schools and the community. So I will give a little bit of an overview about how specifically Carol and Kathy's award came to be in that process, and then they'll each showcase a little bit of their learning from the conference, and then Ms. McGill will speak to Carolyn's award. So Ms. Scopa is, and also Kathy, are members of the Merrimack Educational Support Staff Association. Carol is the president and Kathy is the vice president. They were both chosen to represent New Hampshire at the National Education Association's Educational Support Personnel Conference in New Orleans this past March. The ESP National Conference is attended by members nationwide, with the goal being to enrich the skills of its members and to positively impact student achievement, advocate for educators, and help improve the lives of those they serve in the educational community. MESS's UniServe director, Lori Hayes, who is here this evening in support of these ladies, noted that both Carol and Kathy saw the leadership skills during recent negotiations and other union matters. She felt those skills could only be enriched at the ESP conference and therefore recommended their attendance to both NEA New Hampshire's Southern Regional Chairperson, Jill Owens, and NEA New Hampshire President, Scott McGilvery. Both wholeheartedly supported her recommendation. On January 8th, Scott announced Carol and Kathy had been selected to attend this conference, which was fully funded by the NEA Association.
Well, at the conference, Carol and Kathy attended several workshops, some of them including the role of the educational support staff in balancing the whole child approach, and tools for your toolbox, strategies to assist students with social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. Both of these workshops provided innovative suggestions and tools to help students succeed in the classroom. So now, both Carol and Kathy will share some of their new learning.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you about my recent trip to New Orleans.
Excuse me. Can you just hit the little button on the microphone to make sure the lights up green?
Here we go.
And then your mic is on.
I'll start again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Carol Scoper. I am the president of the Merrimack Education Support Staff Association, and I thank you for this opportunity for me to tell you about my recent trip to New Orleans. My trip to the National Education Association, which is NEA, Educational Support Professional, ESP Conference, as the advanced leader from New Hampshire. It was an experience of a lifetime for me. Not only did I learn strategies for my association in gaining respect and recognition for ESPs, building support within our community, and addressing student needs, I also met wonderful ESPs from around the United States. I learned so much from talking with others and learning how their districts and regional associations work. I also had an opportunity to speak with the local people, and I was so impressed how warm and caring and friendly they were. It was very sad to still see the devastation of Katrina 10 years after, but the will of these people to and these residents to pick up the pieces of their lives and to carry on. It was a humbling experience. At the conference, I attended 18 and a half hours of workshops. 10 of those hours were at the Advanced Leader Workshop. At this workshop, I learned how to get the word out to who ESPs are. As a paraeducator, I work closely with the team in order to support students' individual education plans. I enjoy working with small groups of students or working one-on-one. I make observation, collect data, and provide input to the team. I also monitor students at recess and provide constant care for students. The Merrimack School District employs 10 categories of educational support staff. A few examples are the administrative assistants, our hot lunch people, our custodians, and our kindergarten instructional assistants. Each role is equally important to the other in that we are all here for the same reason, to work in support of students and their families. I also learned about getting the word out into the community. Since our contract was on the ballot this year, I worked with my executive board and sent out a newsletter informing Merrimack School support staff employees about the voting day. We sent out personal invitations to support staff to come out and vote, to support the contract, and to bring a friend, a neighbor, or a family member. I contacted the president of the Merrimack Teacher Association to notify their members to come out and to support us. I made phone calls to remind people about voting. I feel that these efforts contributed to the recent passing of our contract, and thank you all for your support on that. I also attended a workshop on behaviors. It was based on the Positive Behavior Intervention Strategies, the PBIS program. Since the school I work at is a PBIS school, I found this workshop gave me new insight and creative ways to reinforce our school-wide expectations of safety, responsibility, and respect. I used the new knowledge I gained at recess recently. The students play a game called Foursquare. It is a game with 4 squares. One student stands in each square, and they volley a ball in and out of their square. Sometimes students don't always follow the rules of the game. I usually just go over and remind them to play safely and be respectful. At this workshop, we were told the quote, "Don't view the student as having a problem, but a skill deficit." I reflected on this and decided instead of just reminding them about it, I would model how to play the game. I played a couple of rounds with them, showing them the correct way to play the game, then stepped aside and watched them play. I was so impressed with their attitude. At the end of recess, I complimented them for working together and playing safely and respectfully. They told me it was so much fun and everyone had plenty of playing time. I rewarded them for their perseverance by giving them each a flower petal, which is part of our new school tool for perseverance, which is displayed in our center hallway in our flower display. Overall, this trip was a wonderful learning experience. I am so excited to continue to share and demonstrate my new learning with my colleagues and students. I'd like to thank Marge Chaffrey, my superintendent, Brady Belmere, my principal, and Julie DeLuca, my vice principal, for granting me this opportunity to attend this conference, and a big thank you to my Thorntons Ferry family for their encouragement and support. I would also like to thank Lori Hayes, my UniServe director, and Scott McElvery, the president of NEA New Hampshire, for the nomination to attend this conference. Thank you. Kathy.
Hello, my name is Kathy Martin. I work at the Upper Elementary School. Attending the conference in New Orleans was an incredible opportunity. There were interesting workshops, passionate and inspiring speakers, and many new sights to see. So I'll try and give you a quick snapshot of some of the moments of our trip. I started by attending 10 hours of emerging leader training. Some of the topics covered were active listening, presentation skills, how to hold a quick 5-minute meeting. The active listening portion discussed listening with a purpose, making that conscious effort to hear and understand the words and feelings of the speaker. And I can see where this can be applied in the classroom with the students, with our learning team members, the teachers, and also within our association at negotiations. After the Emerging Leaders training, I attended an additional 8.5 hours of workshops. These workshops covered state standards, behavior improvement techniques, and special education law. Some of the things were new to us, and some of the things were a review. 2 new methods I learned to assist with student behavior are the use of choice charts and cartoon thought bubbles. The choice chart uses a flow chart to show the outcome of a situation in 2 different ways.
one with a negative outcome and one with a positive outcome. So it's a great way for children to see the results of the possible choices they make and to help them develop strategies to end up with a positive outcome. On the other hand, the cartoon thought bubbles show what other people in a situation might be thinking. For some of these students, it's difficult for them to see the other person's point of view. Also, fifth graders, I find, love to draw cartoons. Many of them are fascinated with drawing cartoons, so this is a technique that they might enjoy also using. When we got to the discussion of reading standards, I learned about ways to scaffold a close reading. I thought this was particularly helpful for reading passages in science because it really reinforces with our kids finding the text-based answers to questions. This also ties into our persuasive writing we're doing right now, where the students need to read books and articles and then use facts from these resources in their writing. During our limited free time, we did make the most of New Orleans. Our sightseeing included a paddle boat ride on the Mississippi River, streetcar rides around the city, walked to St. Louis Square, and we got to see inside St. Louis Cathedral, which was beautiful. We saw saxophone players and jazz groups on the street corners. Then we got to try some of the local food, including beignets at Café du Monde, shrimp po' boy at Bubba Gump's, bread pudding, king cake, and of course pralines. So, and if you were lucky, you walked in the shop just after they came out of the oven. So, during this conference, I met a variety of people from all over the United States. Custodians, bus drivers, library assistants, paraeducators, administrative assistants. The pride they had in their jobs was obvious, and it was interesting to hear about the issues that they are facing in other areas of the country. I was proud to be able to share with them how supportive our school district is of our support staff. And going along with that, I'd like to join Carol in thanking our superintendent, Marge Schaffery, and my principal, Marcia McGill, for their support and my attendance at the conference. I'd also like to thank Lori Hayes for her nomination and her encouragement. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
I'll just introduce you, Carolyn, if you don't mind. Okay. I'm excited to introduce or to highlight Carolyn Belfiore as the recipient of the 2015 Joe Campbell Education Support Personnel Award for the state of New Hampshire. Carolyn was nominated by Kathy Martin, the Vice President of the Merrimack Educational Support Staff Association. Carolyn was selected from all of the nominees in the state of New Hampshire. The criteria used to determine the individual for this award included being active in membership and recruiting, active in local and state associations, active in negotiations and grievance procedures, active in community activities. As a recipient of this award, Carolyn will be attending the National Education Association Educational Support Personnel Conference in Florida in March of 2016. So congratulations to Carolyn Belfiore, the 2015 Joe Campbell Education Support Personnel Award for the state of New Hampshire.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. As Mrs. McGill just stated, I received the award of the Joe Campbell highest award in the state of New Hampshire. I was very, very shocked. I was interviewed by Kathy and Carol, and it's amazing what you can accomplish in 18 years. It's been a wonderful, wonderful career for me. I found out about Joe Campbell. She was a UNISERV director from the Seacoast region, and she started the ESP committee. And she decided that ESPs should have a voice in the union. And therefore, they voted at the executive level to have a support staff person sit on the board. And I just think that is just amazing that we are considered part being educators with everyone in the whole realm of the school. I've been with the school district for 18 years, and I will just go over a few of my accomplishments. I started off at MES for 1 year, and then I traveled over to Thornton's Ferry for 6, and I was building rep over there for 4 years. I then was transferred over to the upper elementary school, and I was building rep there also for 4 years. Then I became president of the union for 6 years, as well as grievance chair. So when I became president, I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I just was handed a couple files, and I went with it. We have a wonderful MESA team, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. I sit on the Southern Council, and I've done that for the past 6 years. I have been the paraeducator rep, negotiating 3 contracts. I promote the membership benefits to all employees, and I've also been part of the healthcare cost care containment committee, which I absolutely love. In my past, I was a medical assistant in New Jersey, so I had 11 years being in a medical office. So I'm all about, the physical and mental well-being of our staff, and all about reducing our healthcare costs. We do believe in promoting wellness, because if we're well, it keeps our costs down, and it's been a great committee. Marge approached me about 9 years ago, so I am the last original person with Marge, Linda Hastings, and of course Sandy Swanson. I've enjoyed that very much. As far as community, I believe in the town of Merrimack, and I believe in our school board and our community working hand in hand, and that's what I enjoy the most. My husband is part of Merrimack Rotary, and I have since gotten involved with him, and we do the Coats for Kids, and it's a collaboration with the Merrimack Rotary Club and the Merrimack Welfare Department. So my husband and I go out, and we collect about 30 to 50 coats every year for needy children in our school, and it's a wonderful feeling to give back to our community. I also help out with the annual 4th of July Merrimack Rotary Pancake Breakfast, and in the past I've been a Merrimack Youth Association girls basketball assistant coach. I also was an assistant coach in girls softball. I've been a Girl Scout leader. I've helped many committees at St. John Newman. I've sat on the advisory committee at J Muse for 2 years, and we come up with possible solutions to any concerns that staff have had. I enjoyed that. And probably one of my favorites was the Best School Leadership Institute that we did many years ago, and I was on that for about 3 years. And on that committee, it basically, in the end, it turned into our individual professional development plan. So it's amazing being a paraeducator and seeing what our teachers continue to learn and do to become more educated. It's been wonderful. I'm just so thrilled to receive this award. I want to thank MESA for interviewing me, and Lori Hayes for guiding me the past couple of years in my grievances. Marge Chiaffrey, outstanding superintendent. Marcia McGill. It's been such a pleasure for 18 years working here, and I love the community, and I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Great. If the board has any comments or questions for the group, Vice Chair Barnes.
Well, I think I've met all of you at the table in different negotiations, and you are such a great ambassador for our district in all that you're doing. And I think that this presentation was so important tonight, so the people at home that watch these meetings can really get an understanding of what a paraeducator does. I think it's become such a vital role in the classroom that maybe for those of us who are, retro, I'm not going to say antique, but older and didn't necessarily have that kind of support system in our classrooms to know really what value it's bringing to the table for our students in their education on an individual basis and also on a teacher support basis. So honestly, the skill sets that you have to bring to the table and what you've studied down in New Orleans, what you'll be studying next year in Florida, I think that's so important for this district to know that there is so much that goes into what you do every day to extend the teachers' work to the students. So it's such a vital role, and for those who never really saw it, firsthand, it's a great understanding that we got tonight. So congratulations to all of you for jobs well done for this district. We know how hard you work. Obviously, I think Andy and I firsthand realize some of the things you do in a regular day as we talk to you about what your roles and responsibilities are in negotiations, and it did help us to really do a good job finding those a great opportunity, a great agreement for us for the next 3 years. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for working with us. And we wish you all the success. So thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would echo what the Vice Chair said. Congratulations on being recognized. Ms. Belfiore, you mentioned how surprising it is that there's a seat at the NEA table for support staff. And you recognize and we recognize that you're an integral part of the education team. The custodians are an integral part, the para-educators, the Title I tutors, the lunch monitors, you name it. Everybody plays a role during a day in the life of a student in educating that student, whether it's setting the climate, providing the meal, and the integration of those folks are critical. I think it's wonderful that you were able to be recognized and awarded this professional development opportunity and sightseeing opportunity. Hopefully there was enough of a break for your hard work, and we're very proud that you three work in our district. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That takes us to item number 9 on tonight's agenda, approval of the school calendar for 2015-2016. At our last meeting, you'll recall that I mentioned at a prior meeting we had asked the superintendent to go out and draft a calendar which took into account some of the parental feedback that we received, which was to start the school year for students before Labor Day, with Labor Day falling as late as it was. We recognized from a contractual standpoint at that time that we wouldn't be able to push the teacher workshops before the week before Labor Day. And so that it might require sprinkling those workshops throughout the year. What became clear in drafting that calendar is that the superintendent recognized that there is an additional contractual constraint that actually requires us to hold those workshop days in advance. The board met after our last meeting to discuss the possibility of entering into some sort of a sidebar discussion as it relates to the calendar such that we could accomplish one or both of those goals, starting school before Labor Day and getting out sooner, or at least starting before Labor Day and sprinkling the teacher workshop days through the year. at which time the board decided not to entertain that, recognizing that we have an MTA agreement coming up for discussion in the coming year. And so in your packets, what you will see is the proposed calendar for 2015-2016, starting school on September 8th after Labor Day with teacher workshops in advance, and with a note in February that school will not be in session on the presidential primary day. We don't know when that will fall, January or February, depending upon when the Secretary of State sets that date for the first in the union primary. And with school currently getting out, not taking into account that day for elections, depending upon whether we have school or not, getting out on June 17th. And so tonight, the action of the board will be to modify this calendar if we see fit, and approve the calendar so that we can get this in front of parents as soon as possible, recognizing this year with the calendar the way that it was, we've taken a little bit more time than we normally do in setting the calendar for the following year. Superintendent.
And the only thing that I would add to the chair's comment is if you look at the calendar given to you tonight, you will see that there has been one modification, which is if you look at January 18th, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That day originally was going to be a day off for a holiday. And in fact, in order to try and end school at the earliest possible date, which would be Friday, June 17th, that day has become a school day because there was a choice to be made. We needed to find another day due to the presidential primary. And so that was arbitrarily selected. I mean, it's not the best choice, but we felt, given the population that responded to you about trying to get out as early as possible, we adhere to the will of the parents.
Thank you. So, Mr. Schneider.
Just a clarifying question. So the fact that now the 18th of January is now a school day, you still account, even though you don't have it X'd off, you've accounted for one less day of whenever the primary falls, such that the end of the school day is the same as it was on the
Correct. If you look in the month of February, because I tally the days up, you'll know that there are actually 16 days showing, but I'm only counting 15.
Okay. Great. So there's a floating day that will not impact the end date.
That's correct.
Okay.
And depending upon anticipated turnout, right, we may find it needs to be a day off from school for that primary. We may find it does not. I'm not going to place bets, but we might be able to gain a day if there's anticipated low turnout, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. Vice Chair Barnes.
That being said, regarding what the expected turnout is, I think the concern, being first in the nation, is that we're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry journalist all over New Hampshire going to all the different polling places, knowing we're the largest single polling site in the country, that we are low-hanging fruit, that I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to have school open because we have unvetted people on our school district property trying to talk to our voters. Yeah. So I'm uncomfortable, even if 10 people show up, there's going to be 20 people from CNN, Fox News, etc., and some bloggers, I'm sure. So, and we will not be able to vet them. That being said, I think that you've made a prudent choice with Martin Luther King Day being the day in session. The one thing I would encourage is that if there's any type of special programming acknowledging this holiday that we could put into that day, knowing that they will be in school, and we should recognize what that day means and why it's considered a national holiday. I think that would be a great compromise.
Great. Any other comments? Not Vice Chair Barnes. Board Member Guagliumi.
I think in the same thing about the President's Day as well, that since they're in session on those days that are normally national holidays, that would be the same. But I also expect we probably do that already. It's a big teaching moment. And then furthermore, I think that the feedback that we received is very important, and we need to carefully consider that as we go into future years and into the teacher contract negotiations next year.
Agreed. Mr. Schneider.
Yeah, I think that parents and those that chimed in need to understand that we tried at least as a board, my observations, we tried every possible angle that we could to try to make this calendar work with the constraints that we currently had. As I stated the last time we discussed this, I think one of the things that we as a board need to do strongly starting this summer and then working into the negotiations is look at sort of a breakthrough in the calendar so that we're not sort of caught in this. So you're going to see me push hard to start looking at things like teachable hours and what that means and things like that. So I want to make sure, at least from my perspective, that people don't think that we just took the input and punted, because that's the last thing that we did. I think you see the change around Martin Luther King Day and not understanding the voting days there, but also we heard loud and clear that the fluctuation in the calendars and having years that are better than others and snow days. I think it's really important that we hear the message loud and clear and we do something in a breakthrough fashion. That I know that that's something I certainly want to see us start very soon.
Agreed. So are there any motions to amend the proposed calendar as presented? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the 2015-16 school calendar. Vice Chair Barnes.
I move that we accept the calendar presented to us tonight as the final calendar for the 2015-16 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second? Made by Mr. Schneider. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Honestly, I think at the end of the day, we listen to the parents. The one thing we really want you to take into account is that net, snow days makeup days not being considered. There's a 1 calendar day difference between this year and next year. The late start date, it's just the way things fall, but there's a 1 calendar day difference for the last projected day of school, barring Mother Nature obviously having her hand in it. So that being said, we know that the 8th sounds like a very, very late start date, but it's not culminating into a very, very late end date. It's really on par. And I think that's important for us to take away from this. We did listen to the concerns about, camps ending in August. We apologize for the inconvenience that might cause, but that is really the constraint that we have with the circumstances that we have in place. Obviously, when we looked at this calendar and looked at even the last contract, we looked at what we can do for teacher planning days to make them productive and get the teachers into the classroom really in the right spirit and the right foot forward for a successful academic year. And it really has worked to our advantage by bringing teachers in a good, positive work environment with some new, fresh, and in-depth skills that you won't get when you sprinkle days throughout the year. So it has its purpose, but we do have to find out some ways to manage that same expectation and be able to do best for our students and for our families that have these students in our district. So it is what it is for this year, but I think at the end of the day, we're still 1 calendar date different than we were for the end of this year with a much earlier start date. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Ms. Gualiumi.
Was there a second to the motion? Oh,
Mr.
Okay.
Schneider.
Yeah, I missed that. All right. No.
You want to third it?
No further, just to make sure we are covered, but it's getting late.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, then we will put the motion to a vote. All those of accepting this 2015-2016 school calendar signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. The motion carries 5-0-0. Which takes us now to item number 10 on tonight's agenda, School Board Committee Assignments for 2015-2016. In your packets, you will see a list of the roughly 25 committee assignments, or generally school board assignments. Some are committees, some are actual roles for, and the assignment for 2014-2015 for the board. What I would ask is that in the next week or so, if you could provide to me your preferences for committee assignments in 2015-2016, such that we can move forward and let the various committees know who will be representing the board moving forward. In some cases, continuity may be desired. In other cases, you may want to change, and all of that is up to you to express your desire, and we'll figure out what the best way of organizing those assignments is. So roughly a week or so, which should give me maybe a week or so before our next meeting to kind of work that through. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Which now takes us to item number 11, other correspondence. Is there any correspondence to come before the board? I'm not aware of any, so seeing none, we'll move to comments. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll move to item 12, new business. Superintendent.
So I need to ask if on May 4th, which is your next board meeting, the first Monday right after vacation, if you would be able to meet at 7 p.m. that night instead of 7:30. That night, Reed's Ferry Elementary School is going to be the highlight, and the intent is to bring preschool and kindergarten children before you. So the thought is if we could have an earlier start date, that might be in order. So I thought I would ask you that tonight so we could make plans accordingly.
See heads nodding. Ms. Guagliumi.
I would say definitely from my perspective, it gets to be really late for kids in general, but at the young age, I think we should most definitely accommodate that if we're able.
Yes, please. Is there any other new business? Seeing none, we'll move to item 13, committee reports. Ms. Crowley.
I would like to start off by saying my friend James Jolly, who is also the senior class president, should be here. He wants to present a item to the school board during public comments, but his lacrosse game ran late, so please bear with us. In other news, Spirit Week was last week, and seniors came in first place, with sophomores in second place, juniors in third place, and freshmen in fourth place. And this week, as I have said before, was one of the highest participation, and our highest participation was 98% with the seniors at Class Color Day, which is incredible because usually only have 68%. Also, last week, GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, along with Mr. Johnson, unveiled the new policy on unisex bathrooms. They made the staff bathrooms, which are unisex, open to students, mostly for those who are not comfortable with using the gender-specific ones. And Merrimack has always fostered an atmosphere of inclusivity and safety. And though we are not the first school in the state to do so, this action is a step forward to a more comfortable environment for all students.
And my understanding is those bathrooms are single occupancy bathrooms with a locking door,
yes.
Correct? Not the communal bathrooms that everybody else uses. Excellent. Thank you, Kira. Ms. Guagliumi.
Although the budget committee hasn't met in a while, it was affected by the most recent election, so there's 4 new members that Pat's in the process of signing in. So I just wanted to mention that. I attended the Parks and Rec for Shannon last week. I had a couple updates from there. Peter Cottontail hopping down the bunny trail came a little late due to Mother Nature, so in Old Man Winter. So the Easter egg hunt was this last Sunday at Wasserman Park. And also the Camp Natticook registration is ongoing, and the skate park looks like it will be opening the end of this week. Lastly, I have just a update, an emerging update, I guess, that Matt Kasperius was going to be drafting a letter that the town council would be signing looks like to declare the O'Gara Drive tennis court area obsolete. There's a number of conditions they have to meet and whatnot, so there's probably more that will come from the town council meetings, in particular more than Parks and Rec. But it also has to go through the state and then the federal government to be able to work through all of the conditions. But I wanted to bring that back to you and make you aware of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Nope. Seeing none, we'll move to item 14, public comments on agenda items. Seeing none, we'll take a moment to sign the manifest, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Sorry, you guys are late. Vice Chair Barnes, seconded by Mr. Powell. All those in favor? You even had your hand up, didn't you? Okay, I will not entertain this motion at this point. There we go. So we will return then to public comments on agenda items just in time for Mr. James Jolly, who has been pre-introduced, to come and share his thoughts. Your hair is still wet.
I just got back from a lacrosse game,
and boy, are my arms tired.
Figured it'd be a good thing to go home and shower before I had to come in here.
Smart.
We did not. It was a rough game, but it was close.
Well, welcome. The floor is yours. We understand you from Ms. Crowley that you have something you want to share with us.
I do. One project that has come up a little while ago that I've been tossing around the idea of is seeing if we'd be able to get an outdoor classroom built at the high school for the high schoolers and teachers to use, especially come June when you're in one of the non-air conditioned rooms in the building. It'd be nice to be able to have the classes sign it out through the library, much like they do the Little Theater currently. So you can sign out there, teachers and the office will know where the class is, and the teachers can go out there, enjoy the shade, enjoy the fresh air, a little bit cooler than being in a little brick oven some days. And while they're out there, they could sit around, discuss a book they're reading, they could do romantic poetry, we just did in English that would be perfect outside. Or art classes could go down there, bring their sketching materials, lots of uses that people could have for it. So it was an idea that I was kicking around, and as the deadline keeps getting closer, I'm getting a little case of anti-senioritis. It's like, okay, I have 38 school days until graduation. How much can I fit in here before I have to leave? So realizing that, I've been talking to several outside third-party groups about seeing if anyone would be willing to help fund this project. So several of those things were over vacation, so it was like, okay, I'm not going to have enough time to get on the agenda formally for the school board, get approval for this and go through, and I'll have to make sure I let them know that when I'm presenting to them. I was hoping to get onto this to formally request to get onto the agenda for the next meeting to go through in more specifics what the plan is, working with the Conservation Commission and the Town Center Committee to see if they'd be able to help with it and move forward with them and with the school board's consent.
Wonderful. I see no issue in adding you to our next agenda, and I think the board would be interested in hearing more about your idea for the outdoor classroom and how you see making it a reality. I'm going to assume that you've been, in addition to working with the Conservation Commission and the Town Center Committee, because you did the trail project there, that you're also communicating with school administration and probably through the Student Congress as it relates to this? Yes?
We did discuss this at Student Congress. Unfortunately, I did not have enough time to ask you if we could have him on the agenda for this week. But for tonight, we were just looking for approval to go out during vacation and ask for funding for this project, because we want to make sure that we have enough time to get all the funding so we can get the materials as quickly as possible in anticipation of approval.
So I think it makes sense, as long as you're clear with folks that you're coming to the next school board meeting and seeking approval for the project. Would they be willing to fund that project? It's actually something I think the board would find interesting as well is what funding, have you discussed and secured? Superintendent.
So I think, James, it would be great if you could put some plans down on paper so that we could see what you're talking about and where you're looking at putting it and so on, because there's nothing worse than making, a plan in your mind but not having it down. And there might be some limitation. We've recently, when we were looking at doing a project at Thornton's Ferry, we found out that because of underground water and so on, that we couldn't do what we thought we wanted to do. So it would be so helpful before you go too far and get into funding and that kind of thing for us to have some knowledge of what you've got in mind. So perhaps a graphic. We do have a designated, if one wants to do something to the lands around a school, we have a form that you might look at filling out so that when you come before the board, we've got that thought out, and then we can help you in our office before you come on May 4th. That is the next board meeting, the Monday after vacation.
Okay. I look forward to that. And going back to, trying to backtrack through all this, like Kira said, we did go through Student Congress to get the student support for it. I'm talking with administration, and I've talked with grounds and maintenance at the high school to work with them about how we can go about moving forward with this. So I am in communication with them as well. I'm going around to the teachers, talking to Mr. Johnson, principal, about how to go about with a petition for the teachers to get teacher input, like how many teachers would use this classroom if we were to build it, so I can use that to help present
that
it.
Data is helpful. And as the superintendent says, another reason to put the plan down, besides securing funding, securing support and understanding. You mentioned yourself, you're a senior, you're going to be going away to school. I don't know if you've made a decision yet. I won't put you on the spot. Lots of people are probably asking you. And so if for some reason the project is not one that can be done before you go away to school, at least the plans are there such that somebody else so inclined can pick up where you left off as well. So I think that would be helpful.
Thank you. So I have other details that I could share, but if you would prefer, I can save those for the next meeting when we finalize and present those in a better manner, if that would be fine with the board.
That would be great. That would be wonderful. Thank you for the initiative.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. Just in the nick of time. And so we had a motion on the table made by Vice Chair Barnes, seconded by Mr. Powell, to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? None. The motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you, everyone. Good night.